In today's lesson, I will be showing you how to conduct a hypothesis testing. So let's review what we've done in chapter 7, and then we'll talk more about chapter 8. Remember that in chapter 7 we discussed about the techniques on how to estimate a population proportion or a population average. So for example, if we want to know how many people would vote for candidate A, we refer to that as a percent, and so we were able to estimate that. If we want to know the average income of a U.S. household, we're able to do that through estimating an average. If we want to know the average age of our college student, we're able to do that in chapter 7. Now in chapter 8, we're going to be able to test a claim. Alright, so maybe an insurance company will say 60% of cars on the road are insured. We want to test whether or not what they just said is right or wrong. Alright, that's called testing a claim. Here are examples of other claim. Suppose we read an article stating that 60% of children under 10 weight more than 100 pounds. That's their claim. We want to test that to see whether or not it's true or false. Or say a claim says that college students spend an average of $500 on housing. That is a claim made by somebody, or a newspaper, a college, whatever it is. We want to be able to have a technique to test their claim and see if we can statistically conclude whether or not they are right or wrong. Okay? That's called testing a claim, testing hypothesis. Hypotheses are claims. And that's what we're trying to do in chapter 8. So, before we can develop our technique to test a claim, you need to be familiar with these terms. I will randomly test you on definition of these terms. So you need to know these terms by heart. You need to know the definition by heart. Anytime before the next exam, I can always test you on these terms. So make sure you know them, okay? A hypothesis is a claim. That's what it is. 30% of the population uses email. That would be a claim. 10% of the population takes Advil. That would be a claim. Okay. 50% of the population likes to drink soda. That would be a claim. And so we have to test that claim. Okay. So testing the claim is called hypothesis testing, which is a way to test a claim or ideas about a group or population. Alright, so those are the two main terms. Now, the null hypothesis. The symbol for that is H sub 0 or H sub O. Okay, what it is it is a statement that the value of the population equal to some claim. All right. So, like for example, if a claim is made, 70% of the population uses email. If that's the claim, the null hypothesis would be a statement that the value of the population equal to that claim. So, I'll show you how to write one of these later. Okay. An alternative is a statement that has a value that's different from the null hypothesis. Okay, an alternative is something that's different from the null hypothesis. And the symbol for alternative hypothesis is H sub A. Okay. And so differ from the null hypothesis usually involve a symbol that's not equal to, less than, or greater than. Those are all symbols that are the alternative hypothesis. So make sure you memorize and you know the definition of these terms. Okay. Now, when we have a claim, we have to set up a test for our claim. We call that the hypothesis testing. All right. Now, how do you set up a test for your claim? Well, you set up a test for your claim by first you identify the claim. Okay, so you want to start by identifying the hypothesis to be tested. Okay, and then once you have done that, then you state the null, state the null hypothesis, which is this, and you also state the alternative hypothesis, which is given as H sub A. All right. So this is how you set up a hypothesis test. You identify the hypothesis, you identify the claim, and then you state these two items. And I'll show you how to state these two items in a few minutes. All right. And so the symbol that we're going to use for our null hypothesis and our alternative hypothesis is the symbol, and it kind of depends. If we're dealing with a proportion, if we're looking at like percent, what percent of the population uses email, then we're gonna use the symbol P, okay, for proportion, for percent. If we're looking at the mean, the average, perhaps the average age of students at a college is 26. We use the symbol mu for average. And then if we are testing for other items such as the variance or the standard deviation, then we're going to use something else. But for now, I'm just going to expose these two items to you. Okay, so let me show you how to set up a claim, one claim. Say that a claim is made. A basketball player claims to make 80% of the free throws. So that's the claim. So identify the claim. The claim is made. Now, to test the hypothesis, we have to state the null and the alternative. So the null, which is this, and then the alternative, which is that. Okay, remember, what is the null? The null is a statement that the value of the population parameter is equal to some claim. So our null, what the claim is, a basketball player claims to make 80% of the free throws, 80% of his free throws, of all his free throws. And so that would be a population. That would be a proportion. This is a proportion or a percent. So we're going to use the letter P. So P equals to 80%. That's his claim. He makes 80% of his free throw. What's the alternative? Well, the alternative is he makes somehow. The alternative is another statement that differs from this. Well, and differing from that would be something like maybe he's making less than 80% of his free throws. That would be an alternative. See, that would be something that's different from his claim. Okay, that's how you set up a hypothesis testing. Let's try another one. Okay. All right, a claim is made. More than 50% of the population pay bills. So your null hypothesis and then your alternative hypothesis, more than 50% of the population. Well, this is percent, which is proportion, so use the letter P. P equals to 50, which stands for 50 or more. Okay, more than 50% of the population pays bill online. The alternative is the opposite from more than 50, which is less than 50 pay bills online. Okay. So this is their claim. The claims are more than 50% of the population pays bill online. But we know that the alternative, which is differing from the claim, would be less than 50, because the opposite from more than 50 is less than 50. Okay, there you go. The average age of professional basketball players is 26. So Notice that in this hypothesis, we're not talking about proportion, we're not talking about percent, we're not talking about proportion, we're actually talking about average. And remember from the previous page, we actually used a different symbol for the average. So it says that the average age of a professional basketball player is 26. So the average age is 26. Okay. The alternative is the average age. And remember, there could be a lot of alternative, but if we want to test to see if there's not 26, then the alternative would be the average age is not 26. It could be something else. Okay. So it depends on what they want you to test for, that you kind of set up your null and then your alternative hypothesis. We're going to go through this, and when we get to examples, hopefully you'll be able to have a clear understanding of these. But remember, for now, make sure you know when to use the letter P, when to use the letter mu. If they're talking about percentage, proportion, use the letter P. If they're talking about average, use the letter mu. Okay, awesome. Watch the next part of the video, and I'll go into details on how to perform the tests.